the character information actually gets passed on to all of the displays at the same time using this feed here. But only the display that is currently selected actually gets the information. And how that works is these filters right here. So as you can see, this first display is selected. So these torches are off. And those torches are off on every row on every level. That lets any information that gets passed into it to move on to the next step in the display. So all of the screens that are not selected have this torch on. So when the signal comes through, it will shut this feed off because of the, let's go from this side, because of this torch. So when the feed comes through, it turns this torch off, which turns this signal off. So as long as these torches are off, this will work and it will pass the information through. If the torches are on, then it doesn't matter what input comes into here or what this torch is doing. This input stays on, so nothing happens. So with the currently selected screen, this line gets turned off. Let's say if this was an on pixel, then this line would turn off, which would turn this torch on, which passes the information on to the actual vertical RS NOR, or the bit, right here. Now this row of torches underneath is the detector system. And what the detector system does is passes the information down here, which travels down here. So if any of the pixels are active, then one of these torches will turn on, which will activate this feed on each row until the screen selection system, which I'll get into in a minute, that character input has been received and that the screen needs to, the selection needs to move on to the next screen. Now this row of torches here is the reset. And what that does is allows the RS NORs to be reset to 0 or off so that the display can be reset and allow another character to be input into it. Now this crazy spaghetti maze of redstone that's underneath the displays is the screen selection system. Now how this works is there is a single vertical RS NOR right here. And this indicates whether a screen is currently selected or not. So if the screen is selected, this is on. If the screen is not selected, this is off. So what does this all mean? Well, when a display that is currently selected, such as this one, receives an input from the character bank, so essentially when a button is pushed, this particular feed turns on. This is connected to the input detection system that I mentioned earlier. So this feed turns on, which snakes around through here, up over this little bridge, down into here, over another bridge, and into here. Now what this does is this is connected to this gate. And this gate activates these torches if this input is on, so if a character input is fed through, and the screen is currently selected. So if the screen is currently selected and we've got input, then these torches turn on. And what these torches do is pass an activation signal on to the next RS NOR for the next screen, thus activating it. And it's getting dark, so let me reset the time here. There we go. This torch here sends a signal to this line, which is the reset line. So whenever the next screen is selected, not only does this activate the next screen, but it also resets the next screen. So it erases anything that was currently stored in that screen. It also turns this torch off, or on, excuse me. It turns this torch on. When this torch is on, it sends a signal through here, which turns this RS NOR off, thus deselecting this screen. So, basically, if this is on, and this is on, this screen turns off, this screen turns on, and is reset. The three useful commands pass through these feeds right here and into these three lines. This one being space, this one being backspace, and this one being clear all. So let's talk about the space command. When the space command goes through, all that it does is enters this gate, which looks to see if the screen is currently selected. So if the screen is currently selected and the space command enters it, then this torch will activate, which activates this line here. This line is the exact same line that I was talking about just a moment ago that also gets fed by the input detector. So what it does is if the screen is currently selected, it enters this and passes the signal on, deactivates this screen, activates the next screen, and resets it. So it basically does the same function as the screen would normally do when a key is input, but it does it without actually inputting any key. The backspace key works a little differently. It passes through and is also looking to see if the screen is selected. If the screen is selected, then it activates this torch, which activates this feed. What this feed does is it goes up here into this is a condensed monostable circuit. I needed a monostable circuit here to extend the signal by just a little bit because it was operating at half a tick, and half a tick doesn't work. So the signal is extended, and the signal is passed on here, which deactivates this torch and this line. This line goes over here, activating this torch, which is hanging out above this feed, which takes and deactivates the currently selected screen. It also passes that same signal through and down over a little bridge and over to here, which is the screen reset. So the backspace deselects the currently selected screen. It erases the currently selected screen at the same time, and also passes a signal on through another monostable circuit, which bridges over up here and over this and down. And what this does is this resets the previous screen, whatever is in there, as well as sending this signal down over here, which activates the the previous screen. So the backspace command erases the currently selected screen, deselects that screen, sends a signal over here which selects the previous screen and also erases the previous screen, so that you can input a character into that one instead. And finally, the clear all function, which actually uses the same feed line as the backspace here to reset the displays. But unlike the backspace, it doesn't care whether the screen is selected or not. It sends that signal to all of the screens, so they all get reset. And at the very end, or the very beginning over here, the clear all sends a signal into the RS NOR through here, passes the signal on here over activating the first RS NOR so it selects the first screen. At the end of the displays is a placeholder bit, and what this does is allows the screen selection mechanism to still use the backspace function and also the space function when the last character is selected, or if the last character has something in it, then you can use backspace and be able to erase the last character, same as you would with any other displays. There just isn't a display here. Going back to the keyboard, the three different functions each have their own little quirks. The space key is just a standard button. It continues on, nothing special. The backspace key has a pulse limiter attached to it, which shortens the time of the signal from the button input so that it doesn't backspace through multiple screens. And the clear all would normally be just fine if it wasn't for the Easter egg. And so the Easter egg operates like this. As long as the shift key is off, the button goes through this inverter and works just fine, sending the signal on. But if the shift key is on, then this feed here remains on, preventing any further input from going on, and also operates here. So if the shift key is on, turns this torch off, and then when the clear all button is pushed, it turns this torch off, which turns this torch on, which sends the code for the creeper face Easter egg. And that's how the ASCII word processor works. Now, I realize that a lot of what I said probably won't make any sense to anyone that doesn't already have a fair amount of experience with Redstone. So if most of this video sounds like I'm talking in a whole different language, don't feel bad. You're in the same boat as most of the people who will watch this video. However, if you at least got the gist of what I was saying and want some clarifications or have some further questions on any of the different parts of this thing, feel free to ask. I will be happy to answer your questions as best I can. So, until next time, happy redstoning.